Hi, my name is Alejandro Pérez Pérez, and this is the AI Coffee Podcast. Every 2 weeks, we will have one episode regarding one disruptive aspect of technology and artificial intelligence for the time to drink a cup of coffee. Today, we have a guest, we have a colleague of the AI for Gov Master, we have Sara Mancini, welcome.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
Sara Mancini is an expert in trustworthy AI in the public sector, leading the digital transformation in Italy and named one of the 100 brilliant women in AI ethics in 2023. Wow, Sara, amazing, right? This final thing. But let's start from the beginning, from your personal story. Can you tell us your journey into the field of AI and technology and how you become interested into this area?
Okay, so I had my master in mathematics, and then straight afterwards I started working in PwC, and I was working in more generally in technologies and how they change the business and how new technologies, especially, were changing how the organization were doing their own activities. And then after that, it became natural to go and move into AI because I was managing projects with clients, developing solutions with my colleagues. And then after that, by chance, I started working on ethics of AI. And this is why now I'm here working in this field since 2018, actually, so a long time ago.
Yeah, that's amazing that you started a long time ago, because nowadays we see a lot of people talking about ChatGPT, talking about generative AI. But I think it's also really important, this part of your background, right? How to manage ethics in artificial intelligence. So maybe can you tell us some examples about what you do, or because you said that you participated into many different projects. So can you tell us some?
Yeah. So actually, already from the beginning, we were working not just in public sector because it was more broad, and we were trying to help organization in understanding the concept of ethics of AI. So at the beginning, and it was really at the birth of this topic, we were helping organization in developing their principles, in contextualizing them into their own organizations. So this was the first project. And then after that, we were helping them in understanding how to enforce those principles. So how can you be sure that your organization is really following the principle of fairness or in transparency, interpretability, and so on. So we moved into the concept of governance of AI. And from my point of view, governance is just the methods and the practical ways on how to really put in practice ethics of AI and trustworthy AI. I mean, trustworthy AI is now the name that is given to this field by the Commission. So we are in the European Union, and this is also a way of identifying our own approach to AI. So nowadays we are helping understanding the trustworthy AI concept. What is the point of view of the Commission? What is the core content of also the AI Act, so the regulation that is going to be approved soon, and how the organizations need to change. So, for example, we are shaping the processes that needs to be to put in place by the organization to ensure that they are addressing, let's say, the requirements from the AI Act, or that they are entangling, let's say, the principles and the trustworthy AI concept into their own practices and processes. So this is what I'm doing right now, more or less, with public sector and also private sector too, but mainly public sector. Yeah.
That sounds really, really inspiring and interesting, Sara. But I also wanted to know about this second part of your description that I said that in the introduction about how was it, the process of being nominated one of the top 100 women in AI ethics. How was it? What are your feelings about it? Let me know more about that.
Yeah, this came as a surprise, actually. I really didn't know. Back in the years when I was PwC, I was part of a global team working. It was called Responsible AI, and we were many women, actually. And we were part, or we came in contact with this organization that was listing all the women working in the AI, and especially in ethics of AI. And there is this list. You can go there and you can see many women that are working in different fields across all the world. The concept of this list was to let's say help also who is organizing events, who is searching for people and that want to increase diversity, because in this field usually there are more men than women, to find people that were actually women working in this field. So we were all listed there, and we were at the beginning we were a few, so it was easy to be tracked there. And then I don't know how, actually, really, this is a surprise. One of my old colleagues sent me an email saying, "Oh, congrats, you were listed this year as the top 100." And I said, "Oh, I really didn't know." So I think that there is a committee that scans through the list, and I don't know, maybe searching with the activities on LinkedIn on what is the activity that the women are carrying out, they select a few to be nominated. So it was really surprising. Then I told to my boss, now I work in Intellera, it's not PwC anymore, and then it came like, oh, okay, so let's make a advertise this success. And I was a bit awkward about it, but it's also really nice. I mean, it's a passion of mine, so I'm proud of it, let's say it.
Yeah, congratulations very much, and I think you deserve it because we have been working together in the masters, and I really was impressed by what you. I mean, how do you handle all the projects? Also, the energy that you usually have while working, while talking, as the audience can see now. It's really inspiring, and yeah, thank you very much also for being
Thank you.
here. And Sarah, we have been talking about, I mean, everything regarding AI, regarding digital transformation. But do you have any other side project or thing that you do, maybe, I don't know, in your community, or maybe do you have any other thing around just for the audience to know you a little bit more?
So last year when we were doing the master, I had to focus on that only, so I didn't work because the topic is really a fashion. So now I really had a lot of work. So I had to pause all my passions, but. The years before that, I was trying to find a way of supporting political movements because I wanted to bring my own perspective, especially on this topic, because it's not very known and the technology now is really gaining the spot also of political discourse. So I really wanted to get involved in that, but it's really hard. So I'm still finding a way on how to do that. Really hard. So then this is one thing, and yeah, I would like also to do something more that is mainly focused with young people, because I really think that it is going to be fundamental to help kids, young students, to interact with the technologies, especially the new ones. If you think about ChatGPT, it's like the big one right now, in a good way, in a more critical way, in order to balance the benefits that these technologies can bring, but also being aware of the risk that they pose. So I really have just ideas right now. It's really also challenging to think about how to get into the education side. So it's really something that it's just a dream right now. I have many friends actually from the university teaching in the high school, so maybe I can talk with them and think something. But yeah, I'm just more ideas than practical things, unfortunately, right now.
Yes, I get your point of view. I mean, you said that while the master were passing, I mean, it was really, really hard to manage everything. I completely understand it. But yes, I feel also that you have a lot of like energy to give to the community. So that's also really, really inspiring. Okay, Sara, but we are not here only for talking about you and your experience. I would like to know more about the topics you are working with. You mentioned as a topic that I think is quite relevant, the topic of trustworthy AI. And I mean, the key point of this term is trust. I don't see that maybe trust is usually the concept that we are talking when we are talking about artificial intelligence. We are usually talking more about money, being efficient, spending less time, boosting and optimization the time, energy, and so on. Um, I mean, can you maybe explain us why it's so important to have this trust in artificial intelligence?
Yeah. I think the two concepts that you mentioned are not disconnected, because you can really get to the benefits, so to efficiency, to optimization of processes, only if the solutions that are enabling these benefits are used and used in the correct way. And you can only do that if you trust the solutions. So if you don't trust the outputs, you don't use them, and you don't really get to the benefits of the technology. The same for transparency. If you do not understand, if you do not trust how they work, then you cannot rely on the outcomes of those solutions. So it is a key point, and it's not just related, for example, to ethics. It's also related to the trust on the performances, if you want. So if they work well, and if they work well now and in the future, so the concept on reliability, on robustness, and so on. So I think that trust is really a key component, and it's fundamental to get to the benefits of the technology. Then you can also add a layer related to ethics. So if you trust that this technology is performing well, and it's not also discriminating, it's giving you all the transparency that you need, you can really rely on that. And then it becomes like another colleague of yours. It's not just a tool, it's really something that you can rely on and you can use, and so on and so forth. So it's really a concept that is not disconnected to the benefits. It's really an enable for that. Yeah, that is my point of view.
Yes, that's a good point of view, actually. But what I think is like, for example, we are used to Excel files, we are used to calculators, I don't know, PowerPoint or tools like that, that of course are reliable, but because they are neutral. I mean,
Yeah, you put the
type
content. Yeah.
exactly. So you write whatever you want to, and I mean, you maybe put the correct or the wrong functions in an Excel file, but at the end of the day it works always the same, and there is no partial opinion or point or bias in this process. But now it's really important because when we are talking about AI, we don't really know exactly what's going to be as the output. So having this reliability, this trust is of course is really key, as you mentioned. Yes, but maybe let's for making people more aware of that, maybe
Mhm.
let's reverse the statement. Let's say, maybe do you have any kind of example in mind that is not reliable at all, so for people to make understand how important this is?
Yeah, there are many examples right now, because I mean, as much as the technology is used, then you discover the problems, right? So it comes from all the examples, if you want, about hiring application. Sorry, AI solutions that were helping the hiring process, that were scanning the CVs. This is a very famous example from Google that were using positive examples from the past. So they were analyzing the CVs and selecting the ones that were similar to successful all ones. And they were selecting only men because of course, in the past, the majority of applicants were from the male side, let's say. So also who won the job was from the male population. So then they found out, and they said, okay, we need to be aware that the data that you put in input to these AI solutions that are machine learning solutions, so they learn from the data, need to be checked. You need to balance, you need representativeness of the population, and so that you can ensure that the outputs are also balanced towards the population. Other examples, there were a lot of solutions for biometric identification, facial recognitions that were really performing in different ways across male, female, but also black and white, Chinese or Asian, let's say more generally, population. So these kind of biases are one of the most common issues. Then you have other type of issues that are about understanding how the solutions work. So, for example, this is all in the topic of transparency, interpretability, and it's related to the fact that as the AI solutions, especially deep learning, machine learning that are really advanced, neural network, are more and more complex. So you put some data in as input, and you get some output, but you really don't understand the logic behind the decisions that the solution is making in the while. So you really get the result, and you need to work with that, but without understanding the how and what is important for getting to that result. So now we are seeing a lot of solutions, techniques that are addressing this issue and try to help understanding the inner functioning of these AI solutions, helping also to understand if the results are correct or not. How can you use the decision of something that you really don't know how it was taken? So this is like one big issue that is also related on to the fact that people that are working with these solutions need to have the human agency. So they need to be in charge of taking decisions and also human oversight. So in the end, we don't want a complete automation of the decisions, but we want a collaboration, let's say, between humans and machines. So these are kind of examples. For example, this is very common when you have credit scoring. You want to understand how or why, sorry, not more than how, why a certain applicant was given a positive result with respect to other applicants that were given a negative result. And also this impacts on the relationship, for example, between the client and the bank or the other financial institution. So these are very common examples of when this could be wrong. First, also in the public sector, there were very big scandals that were, again, related to discrimination, if you want. And in the Netherlands, there was this solution that was scanning or prioritizing social welfare applicants, so or fraud, detecting fraud, and they found out that they were detecting possible frauds in specific neighborhoods that were the poorest ones. So this kind of solutions were really actually the government fell after that. So it's really something that is happening. So it's not something in the future. It's really right now.
Hi, it's Alejandro Pérez Pérez, host of the AI Coffee podcast, and I have a very short message to you. Sorry for this interruption. Please, as this is an independent project, it will be really, really important for me if you could subscribe to the podcast. You could also share with your friends and relatives. And please, a very important thing is to subscribe to the AI Coffee newsletter at alejandroperezperez.substack.com. It will make this project bigger and bigger, and of course, it will create more valuable interviews for you. Thank you very much, and let's continue the podcast. Yes, I completely agree with you, and the relevance of it, as you said, it was like, for example, in the Netherlands, a completely government fell only, or let's say mostly because of this. And it is really important because we are creating algorithms that we don't control completely ourselves. So that's also why it's so important, as you mentioned, and I like it very much, that you can automatize almost everything, but at the end of the process, a human should be looking everything and really being aware that whatever is making is trustworthy and reliable, and respect the rules, of course, because they might be also algorithms that are against specific rules of the country or the region. So I completely agree. And also, a good question I wanted to ask you is, how can we ensure that AI technologies are inclusive and accessible to all members of society? Because you mentioned that a little bit, but can you maybe, what are the important points regarding this topic?
Yeah, I think this is also another level of trust. So it's more related, for example, it is related to country level, but more, I mean, worldwide, let's say, because we have rich countries in which investments are a lot or many, and we are really investing in education and bringing these technologies uh, towards well, not everybody, but big group of people, and this is going to help the whole community, right? But I still think that also within a country you will still have discrepancies between who has access to high level education or a high level well, if you think universities or that can arrive to university. I mean, this is a more general problem. It's not just for AI, but if you think about AI and this technology, you need specific training. You need also lab and so on. So I think also within a country, you need to be aware that there will be always people that are more keen to go until the final stages of education, while others will be stopped if or need to or will quit because of social reason, for example, or so on. But this is even bigger if you think about competition across countries. So countries that have the possibility to invest in this technology will gain advantages towards other countries. So yeah, usually you can always think about Africa, for example, that is not having this development, right? It's not working towards this. I still see that many investments or many nice projects are being developed now also in African countries. There are collaborations across Europe and African countries. So this is going to try to mitigate this risk, but it's really hard, right? It's really hard to level this kind of differences, because also the background, so the people that are able to go to that training in, for example, Africa, but also if you want South of America or other country in Asia, are less and less. If we don't think about countries that are with wars and so on. So it's really something that we need to take into account, because otherwise it's going to be the same as usual. So that the powerful countries will have the power over these technologies and will have the advantages towards the others. So it's something a bit out of our reach, probably, but it's also an important topic that I think also, again, Europe has this uh, mm, aim to address, because we are the ones that we care a bit more than the others. But just, I mean, with these programs that there are. But yeah, again, this is really hard. I think it's not going to change much. Also because you need basic infrastructure like internet connection, computers. That it's not that you provide this to everybody from today for tomorrow. So it's something that you need to build, and it's really hard, let's say.
Yes, it is. Actually, while I was researching things for my master thesis, that you know really well that we are working on this thesis, when I was looking for information, I found a really weird project that apparently it's more often than we think. That I think it was in India. There was like a big company, or like big companies that bought, I don't know, many hundreds or thousands of computers to provide children there, like, let's say, a minimal infrastructure for accessing the, I don't know, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it is also really important to make them use it, or I mean, to teach them how to use a
Yes.
computer, also to, let's say, maybe co-create the spaces where they can work, because maybe I mean, it could be that they would like to learn from the computer, but they couldn't, maybe they don't know how. But also, if they know, or they try, or they get to know it, maybe they don't have a moment to do so, or they don't also maybe I don't know, have other maybe more important infrastructure around. So it's also really important to figure out how to do these projects. That I think it's also really, really difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, for example, I also work in European projects, and there was this one in which we collaborated with. So in my project, we have digital innovation hubs in Europe. That is a concept for bringing innovation to small and medium enterprises, and do, let's say, bring research to the industry, let's say. So there were different projects that were trying to establish digital innovation hubs in Africa. And we wanted to do some kind of matchmaking between the European ones and the African ones. And when preparing this event, we were talking with our correspondents, let's say, that were working directly with this digital innovation hub in Africa. And they were telling us that the need there, the technology need, is much more basic. So they need not very advanced technology, but they need technology that is useful for their own environment, and that we somehow, well, very often Europeans come there and they want to sell, if you want, they want to replicate their solution there, but those solutions are not the ones they need. So that you need to really understand the need that is most related with basic needs, like, for example, also water, right? Or very basic needs that are very far from our minds, because we have everything. So it's also important that we establish this collaboration, but keeping in mind not our own perspective, but more the need of the specific environment. So as you were saying, you can bring the technology, but you need also to teach how to use it, and teach something that is helpful for the specific context. So I completely see the point.
Yes, it's really important. And maybe can you tell us more about these digital hubs and how, I mean, how was it? Yeah.
Yeah, so digital innovation hubs are a concept that is really European. So it's one of these programs that the Commission started a few years back. They are spread across Europe, and they have very different configurations. They are mostly attached to universities, research centers, and they have labs. They bring, they provide an environment in which especially small and medium enterprises can go there and try to do some prototyping, to develop new solutions for their own environment, if you want. So there are very many across Europe. There is also a website where you can check and you can go there, and many services will be free for small and medium enterprises because of the configuration that the Commission wanted to establish. You can also access trainings, let's say, also help support for fundings, these kind of services. So really broad. It depends also on the specific focus of the hub. And now the Commission has established European digital innovation hubs that are like big digital innovation hubs that have a coordination role across a region in order to strengthen this collaboration and improve also the services and so on. So it's something that is there for a while, and it's bringing some good results to the local communities, let's say.
Mhm. Yeah, I will. I mean, I will put the note, like the link of this at the end of the episode or in the notes of the episode, as I think it's really important. I didn't know actually, and yeah, a good thing to learn today. And actually, talking about learning, Sarah, how do you stay updated to this completely huge and amazing world of AI?
This is challenging, and the work that I'm doing is on one side too much, so I cannot read all the amazing reports and the articles that are out there. But I usually do that. But the thing is that I'm really doing a lot of projects, and for each project, I need to learn more. For example, now I'm doing a project in a big public sector organization, national public sector organization in Italy, and there we are trying to address data governance and AI governance. So the interconnection between these two topics. So now I'm trying to focus my research, if you want. It's not a research, but applied research on this topic. So once you need to do that for a client, you will read more, and you also learn, for example, data mesh and this kind of stuff that was new for me. Also for other clients, I need to focus on other topics. So then this is a driver for me to keep updated. Then I also try to find some conferences, webinars mainly, where you can learn something. For example, now that is a big topic, the generative AI. I'm trying to attend to some of these conferences. And then I talk a lot with with people that are in different especially in my organization, which is big, but also to learn what are the problems, right? Then you understand how to find solutions, and also the clients. I think that it's very interesting what they are questioning you, what they are bringing to you, and then you need to find a solution. And it's also a good way. While on the other hand, I do not like reading books on these topics. I really, really avoid them. Once I finish working, I want to focus on something else because it's also a good way of bringing new perspective that do not come from the same field. So that I don't do, but it's a good way.
It's a very honest statement, the one you did for the books. But yes, I mean, I get your point because if you're like 24/7 talking about the same thing, you lose the perspective. You are really focused on whatever, I mean, AI, for example, and maybe what you don't think is how that could be good for example, other social stuff around, or even maybe you might be reading a book of, I don't know, traveling or something, and maybe you think, oh, that could be a really interesting
Yeah.
perspective or whatever. So yes, I get your point. And Sarah, we are finishing little by little, but we have a couple of minutes left, don't worry. But I would like you to share an inspirational message to, for example, someone that is starting with AI from this perspective or ethical perspective, as you were having, for example, at the beginning, or even maybe an inspirational message to yourself when you were younger, for example, and you were a little bit maybe lost with this completely huge and disruptive environment. So yeah, can you tell the audience something about that?
I'll try. So, yeah, I think that the first thing I would say is that you don't have to be afraid and get overwhelmed by the huge amount of information that right now is there on this topic. Now it's really inflated. And so you need to go to the sources of information that are really good and select those. So focus on those and do not get into the really huge amount of I'm sorry, blah blah that is out there on this. So this is the first thing, just to focus on something and also try to be practical. So find a way in which you put your hands on. If you want to do the technology part, then try to find an algorithm and try to see what happens, right, with the good and the bad, and you get your hands dirty and you understand really the concepts behind it. If you don't want to go to the technology, then you find another practical way. So I was talking about governance, and you can go to the processes, and you can go to the real problems, right? How the connection, how the relationship between a person and a machine can happen. So really to say, okay, I can inform myself with basic and good let's say foundations, but then try to go to the practical side, and then from that you can expand, but do not lose yourself in the whole things, because otherwise you just read stuff and you get confused. And I mean, it's really go to the topic and just explore that. So this is my thing, because at the beginning it was really really challenging, and it was much less fashion, so there were fewer articles. But right now it's really overwhelming.
Hmm. Yes, I agree. And just for giving you some like funny thing, a couple of episodes ago, I did an interview with Oscar Corzo, that was one of our main teachers, and he said exactly the same thing. That yeah, that apparently when he was talking with some of his students, they were having the same issue. Like they are really, I mean, tired because and stressed because there are like so many sources of information to learn from. And yes, as you said, it's really important to say, okay, I am not able to process everything, to read everything, to listen to everything. It's completely impossible. So let's focus on practical things. And as you said, a really good point also I would say is to try to make your hands dirty, right? With okay, let's try what it happens if I go to Hugging Face and try a model. I mean, maybe it's not going to be working or something, but maybe yes, or maybe now the next time I know how it works or how, I mean, how everything is more or less. So yes, completely agree with you. And Sara, one last question. Okay, so the first part is easy. Is how may the audience contact you if they want to talk with you or to know more about your life or whatever. And the second part is how do you like coffee? Because this podcast is the AI Coffee Podcast. We have been talking a lot about AI, but what about coffee? And knowing that you're Italian, maybe I know what type of coffee you like, but let us know.
Okay, so you can contact me through LinkedIn. I mean, my name and surname are very, very common. It's Sara Mancini, but you can I can send you maybe the specific profile so you can contact me. So it's very easy for that. So about my coffee, yes, I'm Italian, but I'm not very like strict on that. So and I do not drink it too much. So morning coffee and milk, of course, without anything else, and then one over the rest of the day with a bit of milk because that I do not like it too much. So I'm not trusting any bar, and I prefer to have some milk instead of having a bad coffee. So everywhere I have to put some milk to be sure that it's at least good enough to be taken. So, and just like that. Very, 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 very little sugar. Very, very little.
That's funny. That's funny. I was thinking, I was expecting more that you maybe would like to drink espressos or ristrettos or things alike. But well, that's understandable. That if you are not trusting like a place to make your good coffee,
Yes.
yeah, it's usually better with with some milk or something to.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, understandable. Okay, Sara, it was a pleasure having you here. I think we have learned a lot. We have been talking about many different and important aspects, and I was really comfortable. So I hope also you were comfortable.
Yes, it was very, very nice.
Okay, so maybe see you soon, and yeah, thank you very much again.
Thank you, Alejandro. See you soon.
And also, thank you for listening. If you liked it, please subscribe, share with your friends, your relatives, whoever maybe that would like to learn about ethics and AI. And see you next time. See you soon. Hope you liked it. Bye bye.